Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. I'm here with Matt Drescher and Vic Markle. How are you guys doing today?
Good.
Doing great.
Oh, good. Well, thank you for being with us. On this podcast, we discuss the journey that people go through with the Entrepreneur Source coaching. Um, let's just jump right into it, Matt. I'd love to hear some of your story about, prior to ever coming in contact with the Entrepreneur Source. What were you doing professionally? Like, where were you doing? And kind of what led you to this point.
Okay. Yeah. I have spent the last 20 years in the utility industry. I started out, I work at a coal-fired power plant. I've kept my job for now. We'll see how quickly I can resign from that career and take on this home or this business ownership. Kind of doing both right now. But I started out in the utility industry, working at a coal-fired power plant. Started out on the ground floor, truly the ground floor, shoveling coal spills and greasing coal conveyors and stuff like that, and then kind of worked my way up pretty quickly in the industry. I've always been a driven person, and so I worked my way up into the supervisory ranks, and then operations manager is what I currently do at the power plant, coal-fired power plant. If you know much about the utility industry, though, coal-fired power plants are going away quickly. There's a
Right.
lot of stigma around the in coal fire power plants in the industry. So, um,
What kind of drove you to so I mean, how long, 20 years, 15 years you've been in the industry?
yeah. So about 13 years into my journey with the utility industry, I decided to make a pretty big change. Moved to Minnesota. Started working for a different company, a larger corporation. I started out at a municipal utility. But with the larger corporation, I was told that there would be more opportunities there, and I was actually told that a lot of the upper management would be retiring in the next 5 to 10 years, and there would be opportunities. What they didn't tell me really is that uh, those opportunities were going to be just attrited out of of the company. So, so where the retirements happened, they just didn't hire anybody, and
Wow.
I've been in the same position for the last 7 years that I started out with, and I've never been in any position in this industry for more than three.
Oh, wow.
So I got discontented pretty quick, and for the last 5 years on my LinkedIn page, I had open to new opportunities, and you know I've had some opportunities there where people have contacted me, recruiters have contacted me for different operations manager positions or plant director positions, but nothing, nothing really worked. Nothing. It it was all closed doors eventually, or just not the right timing or the right place or situation. So, um, yeah, I've been looking for a while and just discontented with where I was at and the lack of follow through on some of the promises, or not really promises, but opportunities that I had thought I had that really were never there. So,
Wow. Yeah. So you gave a full 13 years to that company and, and more, and you kind of,
yeah,
it just
so,
kind of, it just didn't pan out exactly to what they had kind of initially promised, is what it sounds like.
well, the first 13 years I was at the municipal utility, and then the last seven I've been that at this larger corporation, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just not panning out. I have actually put in for 26 different internal positions, some promotional, some of them were
26.
yeah, 26.
Man.
Some of them were just lateral transfers,
Mm-hmm.
and some of those lateral transfers they won't even give an interview to me. So, so yeah, I was pretty unhappy. I was to the point where I was kind of at my wits end. And then Vic,
Mm-hmm.
on off of my LinkedIn page, he I guess he would have to tell that part of the story, but he reached out to me and said, "Hey, would you ever, basically, would you ever be interested in any alternative career path?" And I thought, "What the heck is an alternative career path?" So, so that's when I said, "Sure, what are you talking about?" And
Right. You
that's
probably
kind of
had
where,
illegal
Yeah.
things come to your mind first before anything else. So
yeah, I'm like, what
that
is the, yeah, exactly. Is this legal? Am I gonna have to my, yeah, I won't even touch on that. I
right, for
didn't know
sure.
what that meant, so it
For
was kind of,
sure.
and I never thought about owning my own business. I didn't think that that was never even a thought in my mind. So it
Mm.
was, if it wasn't for him reaching out to me, I would still be, stuck in what I was doing for sure.
Interesting. So yeah, I guess that does kind of bring Vic in. So Vic, w- I mean, how'd you end up getting in contact? I mean, we know it's through LinkedIn now. But what was your initial impressions when you and
Yeah.
Matt began speaking, and how'd that kind of just take us through that progression as you were, as you were working with them?
Well, Matt did a really good job. That's pretty much what our first conversation sounded like. It was very similar. Matt very frustrated with. He moved to the larger corporation because it, more opportunity than in a local municipal kind of organization. Larger should have been more opportunity. Very disappointed, as he said, in that, and tried really felt stuck, right, Matt? I mean, trying the laterals and kind of get told, yeah, but if you leave, we don't know how to run the place because the industry's changing and a lot of people are jumping to new and different things within the energy industry. So really felt trapped, really uh, wasn't sure where to go. And so we just started talking about if you're really open to opportunities and want to explore things. And that's really where the emphasis is just on exploring. You know, business ownership may not be right for you, but how do you know until you look and examine it a little bit and get an opportunity to explore and learn more about it? So that's what we started doing. Uh, and then also in that first conversation, he kind of mentioned that Jamie, his wife, been at home with the kids, and spending her time there and placing that focus, but they were getting to be of an age and she was wanting to feel like she was making a more substantial contribution in terms of the finances and things, right, Matt? And
Yeah,
feeling it was time to look back into maybe going back into the workforce. So Matt was like, well, maybe there's something we can do together. And from there on, it was all three of us talking
yeah,
together.
There you
So,
go.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was definitely interesting because for like probably the last 2 or 3 years, Jamie's been kind of looking at, well, maybe what could I do, uh, and maybe a part-time job, and that didn't really make sense because she homeschools our kids, so working around her schedule is a big deal, and just having the opportunity to kind of be flexible in her schedule but still want to help out around the house or around, help bring in some money. um, so
mhm,
we really needed something that was flexible, and when we started looking at this, it just made sense to try to find something that we could do together. So
right.
you're absolutely right, Vic. It was kind of like, you know, it was kind of like this was meant to be. It was just a matter of when, in our life journey, when was it going to show up? Because she was looking and I was frustrated. It was like the perfect storm. So
That's great. That's great. So I want to kind of go back a little bit. So Vic, when you contact with Matt, I
Hmm.
mean, I imagine you've been doing this now. You said for about a year.
Hmm.
You've probably worked with a lot of different people from different backgrounds, different needs. What is something that you felt like working with Matt made it, kind of led him to where he is now as far as, um, made him a good student, I guess. Was, like, how was it working with Matt, and how was, were there ups and downs in your journey together? Were there solutions you brought that didn't seem to be a good, just kind of take me through some of that. What makes someone who goes through this coaching process
Yeah.
succeed or not? Are there any tips out there for somebody who might already be going through or, be thinking about going through it?
Well, I think a large part of it is how do you define success? Um, and I, for me at least, whether my client chooses to go into a business for themselves or not is that's great, and that's success as long as that's the right choice for the client, right? So, in Matt and Jamie's case, that was the right decision for them. I believe they came to the right decision, and they do, which is the more important
Mhm.
aspect of it, right? So, our conversations at that point, and once they made the decision they wanted to explore business ownership, then it kind of changes a little bit. We look at some different possibilities, and it's more a matter of staying focused on those goals. The whole first part of the journey in the conversation is what are the goals? And as Matt said, the goal was moving companies, have a chance for advancement and continue to increase the income and continue to make things better and make a better future for the kids. Well, that's not working out the way we planned. So let's look at something different. So that was among several of the goals, right, Matt, that we
Yeah,
identified. And then when we get to looking at some different possibilities, my role is really trying to keep those goals at the forefront. Hey, look at this opportunity. Does it have the potential to help you get to those goals? Well, yeah, maybe not as much as we thought at first. Yeah, okay, maybe it's time to look at something else then. What about option B? Well, yeah, that one's got a lot of potential and we'd like to learn more about it. So stay engaged and keep following through that process. In Matt and Jamie's case, I think one of the things that was kind of critical for them was the whole location bit.
yeah,
There was some discussion early on, and even when you first started talking with some of the possibilities, there was some discussion about do we want to stay here? Do we want to go back towards Wisconsin and closer to family? And I think, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was kind of on your journey and the discussions with the different possibilities that you decided, no, we really think there's more opportunity if we stay where we are,
yeah. I think my
which
job. I
pleased
was.
Jamie.
Yeah. Oh yeah. For me, it's different. I grew up. We moved around quite a bit when I was growing up, so I was just ready to throw in the towel and do something completely different. My family's from Wisconsin, so I thought let's just sell the house, move to Wisconsin, start a business. That makes sense, and we'll just make it work. And Vic's like, whoa, you might want to think a little bit about that. It's better to kind of start building your business, or it can be better to start building your business with when you already have a job because you're not stressed out about the money. And Jamie definitely um, used that as a poking stick at me to say, yeah, you need to keep your job for a while. You can't just quit. Uh, But uh, in the time that we talked, and what was good is Vic was really patient with us because I was ready to, move. And it was a few weeks. I mean, it was a while that we talked and then made the decision that yeah, it's probably best we stay. That ruled out some of the business opportunities we were looking at and really narrowed it down and just talking through those things was really helped us narrow down what we wanted to do.
That's
So,
great. Yeah, and I
yeah.
think that's what kind of sets the entrepreneur resource coaching apart from, because I know a lot of people might think, well, if I want a career change or I want a life shift or, something like that, I can, I know how to use job boards and Google and I can go find a job anywhere, right? But I really think what changes it is the coaching aspect, which is not, like really placing those goals and figuring out what those are, not just your salary, but your life goals, right? Your lifestyle goals. You want more time with the
Mhm.
kids. Do you
Yep.
does your wife want to get back into workforce, for example? Like, I think, at least from what I've heard, like that's really seems to be what makes this coaching experience so unique and so different is that you're really taking into account all of your goals, everything that you have going on in your personal life and your professional life. It's much different than, I don't know, a temp agency or someone else trying to just land you with with the next highest paying job. I mean, it sounds like you guys went into moving to different states. Should we do it? Should we not? Considering family endeavors, everything. So I think that's really, that's really unique. And it sounds like that you were taken care of well by Vic.
Well, I think it's a great point, Tristan. You bring it up that if you just want to keep doing the same thing, yeah, I mean, go back to the job boards and things like that. But I think, what Matt was finding, and certainly what I found in my own experience was recruiters call and talk to you. They're only interested in what you've done
Yeah.
and only interested in finding the same sort of niche for you. And, somebody said, how do you define insanity? It's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, right? So, we look to offer an alternative and say, hey, look at this a little differently. You keep doing the same thing and going back to the well and surprised when you get the same thing and it turns out the same way. So that's what we try and do. We try to offer someone an alternate choice, a way to kind of get off the hamster wheel, so to speak, and provide something a little bit different.
One thing about the whole process that I found interesting, is Vic really wanted to know what drives us before he ever gave us options on, different industries or avenues to explore. Like, he found out, we did a personality assessment. We did, um, he really found out what our interests are before he ever put options in front of us. So we had it almost, I remember Jamie at one point, she goes, when is he gonna share with us some options? Because this is taking so long. And I'm going, well, it's a process. And it's good because I think he came up with some good options based off of what he learned about us first. Um, and I just thought that was a really good way of doing it, where recruiters, when they call you, yeah, like Vic said, they only care about what you've done and how you can help the next client. So,
Right. So, I'm curious, how long from that first LinkedIn message to the time that you landed where you did, like how long, like what was the time span there? Because it is, an in-depth process. I mean, and I know it's different for every, for every client and every student. I'm curious just for, just for this situation, kind of how long that took, Matt, and how long it was to get to where you are.
well, correct me if I'm wrong, Vic. You might have the dates a little bit better than what I do, but it was sometime in June that original LinkedIn
Yeah.
message came across, beginning of June, and then I think we pretty much had things narrowed down on what we wanted to do, late September.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah,
about what, a
that sounds
3 month
about right.
process.
Yeah, and it
About
was
that.
it was probably a month into it that we were going, okay, we want to see what, we were at that point, we were excited to see what's Vic got for us. What
Right.
opportunities is he really ready to show us? I think we were itching, and he's like, oh, well, just.
Right. Right.
It was
So,
good though, because what's good about that is he really put a lot more thought into the opportunities, I think, than most people would.
yeah. Well, that's really great. So now that, now that you are where you are, I understand you said you're still working your other job. Is that the plan going? I mean, maybe they're watching this. I don't know, but is that the plan going forward? Are you hoping to expand the new business that you're in? Just kind of, and then also in your personal life, have you already began to experience some of those things you were after? Where are you now? I know you've only been landed for about a month now, you said,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
how's it? How's all that going for you?
So we launched our business, a little less than a month ago. And what's neat is being able to work with Jamie. The two of us are working hand in hand on it. She's doing a lot of the upfront customer, consultation type work, and I'm kind of helping build the business, and then fill in as needed. What's great about it is she can do that on a flexible schedule, and then I'm still working at the plant. I will do that until it doesn't make sense for me to be there anymore, right? So
That's a
whether
good politically
that's
correct answer.
yeah, right. Whether that's a few months or a few years, I don't know. what it's really done is it's liberated me at work, at my, at the corporate job. So I don't have to worry about, well, what do I have to do to climb the corporate ladder there? No, I'm not interested in that anymore. It's freed me up to just do my job and not worry about all the things that you'd have to worry about. Um, so it's great. I mean, my best efforts were going towards trying to climb the corporate ladder in the past. Now my best efforts are not that I don't do my job at work, right? But now my best efforts are really towards building my business. And that's exciting for me. It gives me the chills that I can do that, and know that I have an exit strategy. When other
Right.
Yeah.
people that I work with don't have that unless they're ready to retire when the industry really changes and shuts down the plants. Um, unless they are ready to retire or have an exit strategy, they're just stressed out over what's going to happen. And so I have my exit strategy now, and that's just really liberating.
It was a great change to see too. I mean,
Yeah,
Matt and Jamie are just a hoot to talk with to begin with, but you could tell the the first week we talked and they made the decision that's where they wanted to go. Both of you, I think, a change a little bit for the better, and started really much more enthusiastic about it. Matt in particular was like, "Yeah, I've got a way out of there now," and that's great. So it kind of changed the whole attitude, and it was evident. So that's
yeah. I
wonderful
mean,
to feel I had something to do with it. That's great.
oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from the first conversation where I was ready to just bust my head through a wall, I was so
Right.
frustrated. I know you remember that because I was,
Absolutely.
yeah, I was about ready to walk in and just say, "Here's my 2 weeks notice, and I'm taking the next 2 weeks off." It's kind of that's where I was at when we first started talking, and so now it makes it a lot easier to get up in the morning, go to work, get done with work, and then work on building my business. So
So if there's
That's
someone out there
awesome.
right now listening to this or watching this, and maybe they're in the same place that you were, Matt, your current self today, I don't know, what would be advice if you had any to give to that individual I'm sure you may not be in the exact situation you were, but whether it's they're stressed out with corporate life, or they're not feeling like they're progressing as much as they want to in their current job, or maybe they just want a new job. What would be your advice for them, as it pertains to this?
yeah, I would say, don't be afraid to explore. Um, I think that was the biggest thing for us is I didn't know what an alternate career path was, and honestly, when I first saw that LinkedIn message, I was like, who and what and how and who is this? Has got to be a hoax. And I think the first conversation was um was me asking, well, how do you make money? how how does this
Right.
benefit you? And I think just being open to have those conversations and then realize that you can do it too. I
Mhm.
didn't realize that I had the ability or maybe the um, funding to be able to build my own business or start my own business, and that's something that Vic really helped out with and kind of guided us through that process, and it is liberating. And I never thought of myself as an entrepreneur, but certainly now I think that that I it's funny because my wife has said it a few times. She's like, why didn't we do this ten years ago? We could be so much further ahead. And I said, well, we weren't ready to do it 10 years ago.
Mm.
You know, I'm of the belief that everything happens for a reason. There's a reason why Vic reached out, and there's a reason why I answered, and just how it worked out, I think is just the way it was supposed to work out. You have to be open to that. So
Well, that's great. That sure is definitely inspiring. And I think it's safe to say it sounds like you, if you were to be sitting next to yourself from last June or May, you know, you probably didn't end up where you maybe thought you were gonna, where you were headed at that time.
No, certainly not. I mean, in June of last year, I was definitely in a way different headspace than what I am now. If I were to go back and talk to myself, I'd say, be open to the opportunities and explore, be willing to explore. So,
That's great. Well, Vic, for those who are watching and listening, they're maybe they're relating, right?
Mm-hmm.
Feeling like this is, this is something that they're in the same place and they want out and they want something different or whatever their case may be. What's the best way to go about that? How, if you don't show up in their LinkedIn messages, what's the alternative way to get a hold of the entrepreneur source
Yeah.
or yourself, and how does that process get started?
Yeah, just go visit TES. I mean, go to the Entrepreneur Source website, and you can tell them there you're interested, and they'll be more than happy to put you in touch with me or one of my colleagues. Uh, and lots of good people doing what I'm doing. That's how I ended up doing it. I went through a very similar experience and decided that I wanted to help share that with others. That there's other ways, other alternatives to the job market, and you're not stuck. So any of us would be happy to help. Just reach out, um, and be happy to help you along on the journey.
Great. Well, really, really great advice from both of you today. I mean, it's helpful for me. It's made me kind of want to want to give you a call, Vic. Um,
Please
but
do.
no, but I really do appreciate your guys' time today, and for all those watching, listening, join us next time on the podcast, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.